Hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space, and a short and sweet and simple video. I used another set from Waffle Flower's August release. I did a video last week using some of it. I'll have that linked in the end screen at the end of this video. I'll have the release linked in the description box below. And yeah, my version of clean and simple. So just some like simple stamping, little bit of stenciling, a little bit of die cutting, a little bit of splatter. You know, I can do clean and simple, but you just got to add some splatter to it. So everything I used, as always, will be listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I do get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That is what helps pay the bills, keeps the lights on, enables me to keep bringing out content. And yeah, let's jump into making the cards. So I'm using this Butterfly Trio stamp set. It's actually kind of a suite of products. There is a stencil set and a coordinating die set as well, and I'm going to use all three. And the Butterfly Trio is technically one stamp, but after I've been like playing with it and stuff, I'll come back to that. First thing I did here, you can see I'm rubbing my fingers on the stamp. I've talked about this off and on in other videos. When stamps are brand new, like good quality photopolymer stamps, there's almost like a coating on them when they're brand new. And you will probably notice this a lot when you ink up a new stamp. The ink tends to almost like bubble up on it, you know, bead up. And the more you use it, the better it takes ink. So one thing you can do is, like I was showing, I just rub my hands on it. There are also like erasers on the market that are kind of meant that you can use. Do not use like sanding blocks or anything like really abrasive. You're not needing to remove very much. Again, we're dealing with good quality photopolymer. Rubbing with your fingers, one of those erasers, which I'll link to in the supply list, or inking it up multiple times and just stamping it onto like scrap paper. That also works. It just helps condition your stamps. And a used stamp, a well-used stamp, a well-loved stamp, inks up amazingly. The other thing to remember is really bright colors, specifically with like red, pink, you know, dyes and pigments in them, will stain good quality photopolymer. Because that first color I stamped with was Dragonfruit from Concord 9th. That one is going to stain everything. It's fine. A stained stamp is a love stamp. And it's fine. It's fine, you know? So anyway, I inked up these stamps in 3 different colors. I used Dragonfruit, Parsley, and Grape Soda. Just like so. And then this is Waffle Flower released these a couple months ago, whenever it was, like black grip mats. The grip mats are still photopolymer, as you can see right there. It's just the acetate backing sheet that has been printed in black. So you can see things better. This is the one that's actually meant to fit like inside a MISTI. Just so there's no confusion with there. And these newer ones, like with the black mat, are a little more grippy than the previous versions. They're all great. They're all wonderful. Use what you got, you know? So, yeah, it is more grippy though. So anyway, I stuck my backgrounds that I had stamped those butterflies on with those 3 different colors. And then I'm using the coordinating stencil set. And like I said, this is all simple. I kind of wanted to create a rainbow of colors. So I used Clementine over the pink. And then I used Buttercup over the green. And then on the purple butterfly, I'm using Tidepool. So I've got pink, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. And then there's 2 extra little spots on the stencil to fill in just those little detail bits on that middle butterfly. And that's it. Super simple. Another thing I was thinking of when I was doing this, I was like, ooh, heat embossing those butterflies in like gold, or like stamping them in black and heat embossing them in clear or something sparkly, and then stenciling color over it. Gorgeous. Absolutely. It'd be so fun. Sky's the limit. So after I had stenciled all my butterflies, I took a piece of black cardstock and I'd used my anti-static powder tool on it. And then I stamped the You Are Loved sentiment that's in that same stamp set. Stamped that with clear embossing ink, coating this, and then I flipped it around, stamped it a second time. And then coated it with some white embossing powder. And then melted that with my heat tool till everything is smooth and shiny and melted. And then let that cool off for a couple seconds. And I use my microfiber cloth and buff away that excess anti-static powder. And then I'm going to die cut it with the coordinating wafer die. And then the butterflies, I'm going to die cut with their coordinating wafer dies. And like I was saying in the beginning, that stamp, you could totally cut it apart. You could cut the stamp apart. It would work just fine. You know, I might actually do that. I know it freaks some people out, but you know, if it means you'll get more use out of it and it works for you, why not? Why not? So I did that die cutting. And then I also used, which I used last time as well, but I love it. I used the Quatrefoil. That was the texture die. I love texture dies that just pierce detail. And I also used the Quatrefoil Panel Die, and I just used that on the same white cardstock and then adhering them together. I think I'd mentioned this in the other video too. This outline that I'm adding the glue to, I don't mind adding the liquid glue. But another option would be to put double-sided adhesive on the back of the cardstock before you die cut it. And then just peel it off, peel and stick, you know? But I have no problem with gluing things. So I glued them together because I do love me like just a white background with like piercing texture and like layering a background die cut element to it, you know, something geometric, whatever. Love it. You know, it's still clean and crisp and white, but then it's got all that texture and detail to it. So I did that with the backgrounds, and then the sentiments I had die cut just scraps of black cardstock to stack together to give it dimension. And then it's easier to stack sentiments, especially sentiments like that are die cut like that. It's easier to stack the pieces together rather than like try to fiddle with like foam strips or anything like that. So I've got my sentiment. It's just sitting there. We're not going to adhere it yet. The butterflies, I just put little foam squares just on the very edges, right under the wings there, and then liquid glue down the center. So like the bodies are basically attached to the card, and then the wings are just popped up just a smidge. You know, it just gives them that little bit of dimension. So I adhered those to the die cut and pierced background. I left the sentiment off for now because we're going to add splatter, and we're going to do black splatter because why not? So I put it into my splat box, added a little bit of black gouache to my palette. I'm going to thin that down with a bit of water till I get it to the consistency I want. And then I'm going to add splatter to these. Something iridescent and shimmery would also have been very pretty, but this is me keeping it clean and simple. So I just added a bit of black splatter and then set it aside to dry. Did the same thing with the second card front. So just rotate, stick in the next one, add a bit of splatter, and then immediately clean off my palette, clean up my brush, because that black gouache will stain everything. Worth it, but it stains everything. So anyway, my card bases are top folding A2 note cards, so 5.5 inches by 4 1/4. And I put them in my MISTI, and I'm inking up and stamping another sentiment from that stamp set with VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. So I ink that up, stamp that on the insides, and then the butterfly stamp. This is where it would have been easier to just cut it apart, but I have that whole thing just hanging off. I'm just using an acrylic block because I just want to ink up that top butterfly, and I'm just stamping it in the corner of the inside of the card. So it works, but yeah, could have just cut them apart. It would have been fine. So I stamped that onto the inside with that Dragonfruit ink, and then I used the stencil as well, just because this was quick and simple. And I was using the Waffle Flower Shader 1+ brushes. I love these brushes. So did that quick little bit of stenciling, you know, and that gives the inside of the card a little something extra. So after I got that blended, I then closed up my cards, reinforced the fold with my bone folder, and then I'm going to adhere the card fronts to the card bases. And with ones like this, I adhere everything, and then I just use my big magnets because my work surface is magnetic. So I use my magnets to hold everything down, like extra fingers, you know, to let that glue dry. And then I do the same thing with the sentiment. I'm going to just put some glue on the back of that, pop that into the center of my card, stick a magnet on it, let it sit for just a couple minutes. It doesn't take long for the glue to dry. Repeated that on the second card, and these cards are complete. So yeah, clean and simple, and yet a rainbow of color. Just fun. So, like I mentioned in the intro, I'll have links to all the things in the description box below. I appreciate all of you hanging out with me, thumbs upping and commenting, letting them robot overlords know you like what you see. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!